Albert Maltz, Lester Cole, Samuel Ornitz, Adrian Scott, Alva Bessie.
The Hollywood Blacklist, sparked by the fear of communism during the Cold War, is a display of conflicts regarding rights and responsibilities. Economic rights, such as the right to work and free speech, were debated. Those accused of communism were brought the ethical responsibility for supposedly leaking information to the Soviet Union. The initial impact of the Hollywood Blacklist was devastating, but it provides the necessary protection for the rights of artists, writers, and other employees today.
After World War II, a rivalry between the Earth's largest superpowers was formed. It was a battle to spread their political and economic ideals worldwide. This international conflict terrified the population of the United States, as the threat of Soviet dictators destroying the entirety of the planet through nuclear warfare loomed over their heads. Communism and ideas or objects relating to the Soviet Union were demonized. Not only did the population fear the spread of communism, but the government did also. They conducted loyalty tests for federal employees within. This case of hysteria was called the Red Scare. The federal government had to choose between protecting the nation's national security or the people's freedoms. Past and current events can be paralleled. The ban on the TikTok app has the United States government asking the same questions.
Now, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Society was driven into chaos, and their solution? The House Un-American Activities Committee was established. McCarthyism, a fabrication of former Senator Joseph McCarthy. The ideology quickly became a common practice for the government. Dozens of employees were stripped of their jobs and sent to trial due to suspected communism. The government grew selfish as time passed. The border between the liberties of the people and national security had shifted. Huge debates arose, especially because no law restricted communism in the United States. However, no group of people was hit more heavily than the film industry.
The Hollywood 10 were a collection of screenwriters, directors, and producers that were the first blacklisted workers in Hollywood. Put in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee, they were forced to answer their questions.
You're not asking the question. I was. The chief investigator's asking the question. No.
The chairman, J. Parnell Thomas, believed their responses were unsatisfactory, declaring them to be in contempt of Congress. Soon later, all ended up in prison. The Hollywood 10 were Alva Bessie, Herbert J. Biberman, Lester Cole, Edward Dmytryk, Ring Lardner Jr., John Howard Lawson, Albert Maltz, Samuel Ornitz, and Adrian Scott. The most notable of the Hollywood 10 was Dalton Trumbo, a highly regarded screenwriter. Even while blacklisted, he secretly wrote many films that went on to win Academy Awards. The writers refused to answer the questions the committee had. They wanted to challenge the committee's right to ask them these questions and the court's punishment of them for their beliefs, but they were pressured.
At the time, numerous film industry employees were continuously and unreasonably fired. Most employees affected by the blacklist moved to other countries or accepted their punishment. Additionally, any attempts at revoking the blacklist were unfairly rejected, and the rather creative responses to unclear and pressuring questions were used as a reason for contempt of Congress. Not only were the punished employees suffering, but many film producers were scrambling to find quality employees. Some employers even resorted to discreetly hiring blacklisted screenwriters and producers.
You don't want your name on it.
No, you don't want my name.
An example of a workaround to the issue was for screenwriters to get permission and share profits with another screenwriter. This allowed screenwriters to write without their name being on the film, therefore getting the film censored. Dalton Trumbo of the Hollywood 10 was a one-of-a-kind screenwriter at the time and used this solution for many years until the blacklisted was defeated. Although the blacklist seems irrelevant and slowly faded away, it left a remarkable impact. Nowadays, you cannot be fired based on political views, and our rights to freedom are laboriously protected, but still ignite complex debates.
According to a pamphlet created by the Arts, Science, and Professions Council, if the Hollywood 10 lost their case, it would give an employer the right to fire an employee for their politics. It would also provide congressmen the right to censor films, and it would take away your rights to free speech and political association. The Hollywood 10 did lose their case. As a result, the 10 spent time in prison and were blacklisted from work in Hollywood. This is a violation of the First Amendment and the right to work. They were jailed and barred for working for their beliefs. After being released, Dalton Trumbo continued to write screenplays, even winning an Academy Award under a false name, Robert Rich. This was how Trumbo worked for years until he was publicly put on the credits of a film named Spartacus. Today, there are many different political alignments within Hollywood. Without the blacklist, this would not be the case.
As a standing threat to national security, a massive number of communists were sent to prison. As American citizens, they were required to defend the nation, but because of their communist backgrounds and beliefs, they were breaking their civic responsibilities. There had to be a solution to this problem. The government took a controversial approach to the situation, following ethical beliefs over written rules. The right to work and some First Amendment rights were disregarded in the decision to send communists to prison to supposedly protect the country. To conclude, the Hollywood Blacklist was a raging problem for communists in the film industry. It was only because of the Hollywood 10 that it eventually ended in the 1960s. The government's biggest issue during the time was the choice between the liberties of the people and national security. Its most critical impact was preventing political views and biases from influencing people's rights.